Hello and welcome to another episode of the Wrestling Review Podcast, where each episode we take a look back at another classic episode of WWF Monday Night Raw. Okay, we are here with the 20th episode of Monday Night Raw from June the 7th, 1993, from, once again, the Manhattan Center in New York. This episode we start the show in the ring, with the ring announcer, who again isn't the Fink, introducing the new Intercontinental Champion. Shawn Michaels music hits, and out comes the Heartbreak Kid with someone following him to the ring. Big guy, don't know who he is. So, how did this happen? Well, we then get the Raw opening video, and when we come back, Shawn's music is still playing, and Vince welcomes us along to the Manhattan Center. He's again with Randy Savage and Bobby Heenan. As Vince welcomes us, Shawn runs over to Vince and says, "Just when you thought it was safe to watch Monday Night Raw, look who's back on top of the world." Shawn says that he now has a bodyguard who is his insurance policy. Vince says that he is once again the IC champion, but no mention of when or how he got it. Vince tells us that we will see Shawn as well as Billy Gunn and Rick Steiner versus Fatu and IRS. So our first match is going to be Shawn Michaels versus Russ Greenberg. The match starts off with no commentary for a while, as when Shawn first came out, as we normally get at the start of the show, we've got Vince and Bobby and Macho stood at the side of the ring with a microphone. So it takes them a second just to get over to the table, headsets on and everything. Once they do, Vince tells us that Shawn in fact only won the IC Championship belt last night after defeating Marty. I've no idea who Shawn's in the ring with actually, because it hasn't been mentioned at all. He just happens to be there. I don't know Russ Greenberg, to be honest. I went and looked for it because, I don't think they ever actually mention who it is. We get a scoop slam from Shawn, and Vince tells us that it's Russ Greenberg in there with him. So ignore my last comment. It was clearly Russ Greenberg. We get another slam from Shawn, and he goes for another, but Russ gets a small package for a 1, which fires Shawn up. Shawn to the right hands and lefts in the corner. We get a stalling vertical suplex from Shawn, which I haven't seen him do before. Vince says he thought Marty would hold the belt for a long time. Nobody knows the name of Shawn's bodyguard, which they do speculate on. Vince mentions that next week we will see Adam Bomb versus El Matador, while Shawn holds on to a headlock. We get rights from Russ, but Shawn comes off the ropes with a swinging neck breaker, goes off to the second rope with an elbow, a pile driver from Shawn, and he gets the victory. Then we go to Mean Gene for our King of the Ring report. Mean Gene says that we are now less than a week away from the first ever King of the Ring. He recaps that Hulk will face Yoko for his first actual title defense since WrestleMania. We then get told that the Elite 8 have made it to the opening round. We only winners advance, and Gene recaps the opening round matches again. So we've got, for the last time, Bret Hart versus Razor Ramon, Mr. Perfect versus Mr. Hughes in the Battle of the Misters, Hacksaw versus Bam Bam Bigelow, and Tatanka versus Lex Luger. Crush apparently has demanded a one-on-one match with Shawn, and now that he is the Intercontinental Champion, the title will be on the line. Maybe even Shawn doesn't know that yet, Gene says. Shawn then storms back out as we go back to the arena. So he's been to the back, storms back out into the ringside area, grabs a mic from Vince and screams at the mic about how he's not been allowed to enjoy being a 2-time IC champion. He's thrown straight into a match with Crush. He should be on a beach sipping a blue Hawaiian now instead of wrestling a 300-pound Hawaiian. Well, that was quite a nice line from Shawn. Shawn then says that Vince doesn't like him because he's jealous. Shawn says that Crush will see this. He is the Great Wall of China, he won't back down for anyone. Didn't really make a lot of sense at the end, Shawn, but cool, yeah. I did like his Hawaiian line, so I'll let him off. After the break, we come back with a cool video of an atomic bomb cloud fading into Adam Bomb coming out with Johnny Polo. It was kind of a, nice, cool opening introduction to Adam Bomb there. Johnny Polo doesn't seem to fit with him, though. He's like, I don't know what Johnny Polo is. He's just Johnny Polo. Adam Bomb takes off his goggles to show us his eyes, which are yellow and like a red tongue. El Matador comes out, and Vince brings back the uncooked, uncut, and uncensored little line that 3 of them do, which we haven't heard for a while. Adam Bomb then versus El Matador. So we start off with an arm lock from El Matador, but Adam gets to the ropes. a lock-up, and Adam powers Matador into the ropes and hits a power slam as El Matador comes off the ropes. Adam misses 2 elbow drops as El Matador moves out of the way and goes back to work on the arm. Adam Bomb then powers El Matador into the corner but misses an elbow drop, and El Matador gets an arm drag. Vince informs us that Razor has now offered $7,500 for the kid to get back in the ring. El Matador gets a near fall, but Adam with a big uppercut. Adam then takes over and takes El Matador hard into the corner face first and hits a hard side slam. Vince tells us that we can vote on the WWF hotline who we think is going to win King of the Ring. The current leader apparently is Bret Hart, but Bobby thinks that it's going to be Lex Luger that wins. El Matador comes off the ropes with a forearm and gets a 2 count. We get a drop kick which takes Adam down. Which doesn't take Adam down. Adam goes to the outside as El Matador is down and he stands on the apron. As El Matador gets up, Adam Bomb jumps from the apron over the top rope back into the ring and hits a clothesline to the back of El Matador's head. I say clothesline, it was maybe meant to be a clothesline, it was maybe meant to be a shoulder block, it was maybe meant to be a bulldog. Not quite sure what it was supposed to be, but Adam Bomb very nearly landed on his own head. But it looked kind of cool, and he got the 3 count, so hey ho. I realised going back through that match that just calling him Adam kind of does him a disservice, because Adam Bomb actually looks kind of a cool character. I remember Adam Bomb, but I don't ever actually remember him wrestling. I just kind of remember seeing him, knowing about him. So it's cool to see him here on his debut. But yeah, just kind of saying Adam does this kind of, diminishes the character somewhat. We then get a hype video for Hulk Hogan versus Yokozuna, recapping their match, in inverted commas, at WrestleMania. And we see Jack Tunney saying that Hulk will remain the champion after that WrestleMania match. On pay-per-view this Sunday, the controversy will be settled once and for all. And after the break, we get a graphic showing that we will get the still undefeated Tatanka. And indeed, when we come back, we have a Tatanka versus Peter Weeks match. Tatanka starts off with an arm wringer, which gets reversed by Peter, who chops only for Tatanka to get chops of his own and a hammerlock. Tatanka then hits a hip toss, and Peter goes over the top rope, which was pretty cool. He's a fairly big guy for Tatanka to do that too. Tatanka goes to the outside, hits a big chop before rolling Peter back into the ring. I realise we've got another match here where I'm just calling him Peter. But to be fair, Peter Weeks doesn't really sound much better. So we've had an Adam and now a Peter. We get another series of chops in the corner before whipping Peter into the other corner and then just whips him back again. We get a slam from Tatanka and an elbow drop before he sends Peter into the ropes and hitting a back body drop and another chop. Peter comes back with right hands and takes Tatanka into the corner before he does his dancing, skipping, Native American up. He hits 2 hard chops and another as Peter comes off the ropes. Tatanka goes to the top rope, hits a chop from the top and gets the 3 count. Vince tells us that before the King of the Ring, Tatanka will be in action on Saturday, in fact, at WWF Mania, and he's going to be facing off against Mr. Hughes. So potential for a second round match there from King of the Ring. We then get the Tatanka Ico Pro advert and the new WWF Figures advert. We come back to the arena, and near the entrance we see the set for King's Court, and here comes Jerry Lawler. Jerry welcomes us to the King's Court and says that everyone is sick of hearing from Vince and Randy, but now the King is here. He says that he's here in New York City, the rotten apple. He spent the entire day in this festering, stinking city as the crowd start a big Burger King chant. Lawler says that that won't work, and that he knows what the people in New York are like, and that most popular pet is a cockroach on a lead. I do enjoy Jerry Lawler, I must say. New York's paint trash cans red and gold, so the kids think that they're eating at McDonald's, which was just hilarious to me. I really liked that line from Jerry. Jerry then says that Yokozuna will be here in a minute as we go to the adverts. When we come back, Jerry says that he's not going to be talking about King of the Ring because whoever wins it will just be an imposter to him and he is the real king. And with that, he wants to bring out Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji. Jerry says that Yoko will be the next WWF champion. Yoko gets presented with some flowers, as does Jerry, and Jerry says that the lovely ladies represented respect which Americans don't. Jerry says the crowd of imbecilic idiots don't know how to treat anyone with respect. Jerry says that Hulk is the champion, but he's been in Hollywood and his next part will be in Frankenstein, but they won't have to use any makeup on him. Jerry asks what it will be like when Hulk looks across the ring and sees 500-pound Yokozuna. Fuji stops him and says, actually, he is 550 pounds. Fuji says that Yokozuna has been eating 15 to 20 meals a day, I think is what he said. He's been eating about 30 pounds of rice, 100 meat, chicken and fish. Fuji says that they will reclaim the belt when Yoko climbs to the top rope and comes down with the... And now, I do find a little bit of what Mr. Fuji says hard to understand. It's just his accent. I find him a little hard to understand. But I'm pretty sure at the end here, he says that Yokozuna is going to come off the top rope and crash down with the kamikaze bomb. Fairly sure he means the bonsai drop, but he definitely called it the kamikaze bomb. Jerry Lawler then asks Yoko what he wants to say, and he says that Hulk Hogan, you're going down. Vince then asks Bobby for an objective analysis, to which Bobby says Hulk won't be wrestling a man who's already wrestled this time, and he'll be fresh, and Yoko will undoubtedly win. Randy says, let it happen, it will be a great match. Next up, we get Billy and Bart coming out with the Steiners to the Steiners music, and interestingly, the ring announcer says that Billy is coming out with his cousin, Bart. I always thought they were brothers. I'm pretty sure we've been told that they're brothers. Billy and Bart Gunn, brothers. Ring announcer, Billy and Bart Gunn, cousins. Anyway, brothers or cousins, they get into the ring and fire off their guns. Rick Steiner gets introduced as being there with his brother, Scott. Scott comes out in just a tank top and jeans and looks massive. I mean, more massive than he normally does at this time, even in his wrestling gear. He just looks, pretty badass. We come back from another break at this point, and when we get there, Fatu and IRS are already out as the Irwin chant starts. So, going into King of the Ring, we've got an 8-man tag. So here we're teaming up one member from each of the 4 teams. So we've got Billy Gunn and Rick Steiner facing off against Fatu and IRS. So before the match, Samu and Afa are still eating a WWF ice cream. Randy says it's Howard Finkel's birthday today, and Bobby says he always wishes people over 100 a happy birthday. So, happy birthday to the Fink for this one. Randy also says that Mrs. Pritchard's birthday is today, and she's watching from home in Texas. Now, they gave no context to this at the time, they just said it's Mrs. Pritchard's birthday, so I assume that would be Bruce Pritchard's wife. Could be wrong, correct me if I am, but I believe that's probably who they're talking about there. We get a close-up of Afa eating the ice cream. Ted then hands IRS some money that he then hands to Fatu, who hands it to Samu, who gives it to Afa, who eats it. Yeah, the gimmick here, I suppose, is that the head shrinkers and Afa are confused by money. They think it's to eat. Billy and Fatu start off with Billy landing on his feet off a back body drop, which looked pretty cool, hitting a drop toe hold and a drop kick. We get a swinging neck breaker, and he tags to Rick, who comes in and takes over on the arm of Fatu before hitting a power slam. We get an elbow drop from Fatu as Rick runs in, and IRS comes in too to hit some rights and goes for a clothesline to take Rick out, but he ducks and IRS flies over the top rope. Rick hits a big clothesline that Vince refers to as the Steiner liner. Billy back in, and he hits one move before tagging back out. Well done, Billy. Fatu holds Rick, but he ducks and IRS nails Fatu off the apron. IRS and Ted then get into it with the head shrinkers on the outside. We go to a break, and when we come back, Ted and IRS are giving away some more money to the head shrinkers, trying to get them back on side. We get a recap of Ted giving them some money during the break. With how long this goes on, surely they should have been counted out by now. They were just, all through the break, when we come back, they just stood with the head shrinkers on the outside. But apparently not. Back to the action then, as Rick and IRS back in the ring, and Rick has IRS in a headlock. Rick off the ropes, and IRS tosses him to the outside through the ropes. Bart helps him back in, and IRS stomps away before throwing him out in front of Ted this time, who rams him headfirst into the steps. Scott comes round to argue, and Ted holds Rick for Samu to hit. Back in the ring, and Fatu takes over and hits a hard clothesline. We get a double team from Fatu and IRS behind the ref's back, and a slam from Fatu, who goes to the second rope for a splash, but Rick gets his knees up. Rick then tags Billy, who comes in and takes over on IRS and hits his big back body drop, and then one to Fatu. We get a clothesline to IRS and a drop kick to Fatu. He hits Ted and starts posing, but IRS hits a big clothesline from behind, sending Billy into the ropes. Ted then takes off his jacket, and IRS gets the 3 count. It was a bit of a poor ending, I thought. Yeah, Billy, I don't know whether it was mess up or what happened, but it just didn't seem great. Like, it was a clothesline to the back, and that beat him, so, yeah, not great. After the break, we get an interview with Razor. When we come back, Vince tells us that we will have Razor in just a moment, but they have time to tell us that next week we will have Marty Jannetty versus Doink the Clown. We're also going to have Mr. Perfect in action, as well as Jerry the King Lawler. So that's all coming up next week's Raw after King of the Ring. Finally, Razor does come out to speak to Vince, and Vince says that it's been reported that he has offered $7,500 to face the Kid again. The crowd chant 1, 2, 3, and Razor says everyone is laughing at him. Razor says next week we will see the stick man, this 1, 2, 3 kid, face off with the bad guy for $7,500. Vince says that there's been no confirmation of that. Vince says for that money he could take everyone in there stood on their heads naked. Okay. Vince says the hotline vote shows that only 7% of people who voted think that Razor will win King of the Ring. Razor says that it will be from the Nutter Centre, which is where King of the Ring's coming from, and he says that that's a good name because when he's done with Brett, he will just be another stain on the mat. Razor is still talking as Vince asks us to join us this Sunday on pay-per-view as they go off the air, with Razor still cutting a bit of a promo. I'll be honest, not a great episode of Raw. None of the matches were brilliant. Even Shawn Michaels didn't have a great match. Adam Bomb looked pretty good. Tatanka versus Peter Weeks. Yeah, nothing match. The main event, the Billy and Rick versus Fatu and IRS match, was alright, but a bit of a funny ending to it. On the whole, like I say, not a great episode of Raw. Looking forward to King of the Ring. Kind of excited to see what happens there. But on the whole, we've had a few Raws in a row now that haven't really been great. But hopefully we'll see what happens at King of the Ring. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Wrestling Review podcast. Be sure to come back next time as we listen to another episode of Monday Night Raw. Please rate, review, follow the podcast, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram at TWRpod20.